I've not done so recently, but I'm pretty sure if you were to open up a dictionary and look up the phrase creature of habit, it is likely that you would find a copy of my professional headshot in place of a definition. Whether it is a result of my particular combination of ADHD and other neurodivergencies, there are several things that I must accomplish in the morning in order for me to count myself as a member of the living. Some of these tasks include, among others, getting out of bed, feeding the cat, petting the cat, whether she likes it or not, taking a shower, and getting dressed for the day. But what is arguably the most important part of my morning routine has been to brew myself the largest cup of coffee that my Keurig will allow me and sit down in front of the TV to watch both local and national morning news. Ever since I was in high school, I have been fascinated by and made it an important part of my formation as an adult to take the time to sit down and inform myself of what was going on in terms of current events both locally and around the world. At one point, I would have told you that this was a spiritual practice and something that I look forward to each day. I probably would have even told you that this was a form of self care for me, although admittedly, I would not have had the vocabulary to be able to tell you that it was self care. My love for knowing what was happening in the world even led me to a minor in international studies during my undergrad years. But now, even though I still drink my coffee and watch the news in the morning on occasion, I have found it becoming increasingly harder for myself to watch and pay attention to the news that I found so much interest in once before. Perhaps it is now that I am getting older, but it seems like the news, something that I had so much childlike wonder in learning from, has gotten increasingly darker and more depressing. The majority of news stories these days seem to be comprised of rhetoric and infighting among politicians, various ongoing armed conflicts around the world between countries, an endless array of mass shootings that we have become numb to as a society, and an increasing number of draconian state and federal laws that seem to do nothing more than punish ordinary citizens for trying to live their lives. It is also made harder by the fact that now, as a minister, I am always seen and regarded as a press secretary for the divine, the one who is looked to whenever there is a tragedy or something major that has taken place in the world, and assumed to have something to say that makes sense of it all. Maybe it is pulling back the curtain to expose the wizard, but at the end of the day, I am a human being who is trying to reconcile and process my own feelings about what is going on in the world, never mind trying to guess at those of God. We as UUs are people that have historically cared for those in the world who have been the most marginalized and on the fringes of society. But it gets difficult to care when it seems like more and more people, especially those for whom we care the most, are suffering. It can feel completely hopeless, and we can begin to wonder what is the point of caring for the world when there seems to be nothing substantial that we can do to change it. I hear that sense of futility in the words of H.P. Rivers from the reading for today. Sometimes there is no reprieve for the pain of the world. Sometimes it is too big and too obvious to ignore. Not surprisingly, I discovered that scientists and behavioral psychologists have a name for this kind of phenomenon, dysthymia, which Harvard psychologist Richard Weisbord defines as, quote, the feeling that our lives are constrained and that there is not much that we can do about it. This begs the obvious question: how do we overcome something like this? How do we get to a point where it does not all seem to be too much and too overwhelming? The answer comes with both good news and bad news. The good news is that becoming completely apathetic and not caring about anything is not the answer. In fact, far from it. There is almost universal agreement among scientists, something which rarely ever happens, that what they call the harder forms of caring, or taking some kind of action to change the world and make it a better place, cannot take place unless we care about other people or other things outside of ourselves in the first place. So we are encouraged to care and care deeply for others. The bad news? Like any spiritual or wellness journey that we choose to embark upon, we cannot do anything without making an effort to be happy and experience positive emotions, which requires a conscious choice and effort upon our part. According to Kostadin Kushlev, director of the Digital Health and Happiness Lab at Georgetown University, quote, being happy and feeling energized can actually have benefits for how people conduct themselves and how they are concerned with other people. At this point in my sermon research, the cynical and practical theologian in me felt it necessary to scream at my laptop, yes, we know all of that, but how do we actually do it? As it turns out, I found my answer in the work of Barbara Lee Fredrickson from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Dr. Fredrickson is a social psychologist who has spent the majority of her career conducting research on and studying human emotions, and she is considered one of the foremost experts worldwide in the field of positive psychology. Yes, that is actually a thing. In 1998, she developed what has come to be known as the broaden and build theory of positive emotions. The idea is that, by taking the time to develop and cultivate positive emotions and experiences for ourselves, we broaden our awareness and open ourselves to novel, exploratory thoughts and actions. Over time, this type of behavior develops useful skills and psychological resources needed to develop resilience and increase our sense of well-being. Having an increased sense of well-being is likely to create more positive emotions, which allows the cycle to continue on. The development of these positive emotions also, according to Fredrickson, helps us develop more energy, and that increased energy is a motivating factor to go out and seek more experiences that create positive emotions, which means we are more likely to go out and interact with other people and feel a sense of resolve to begin to imagine ideas or solutions to help change or improve our surroundings, undoubtedly inspired by the positive emotions that we have developed for ourselves. Fredrickson has also shown throughout her research that developing more positive emotions can actually undo the cardiovascular effects from the impact of negative emotions. Essentially, emotions like anger, fear, and sadness can all elicit responses from our autonomic nervous system, which the development of positive emotions can help to reverse. So, how do we actually do this work of cultivating positive emotions? Fredrickson and other positive psychologists have identified meditation as one way to help achieve this, especially loving kindness meditation. Also known as metta meditation, this is a type of Buddhist meditation practice that has become popular in recent years and which is taught by several meditation groups and meditation apps. It is usually comprised of visualizing a person and silently or aloud repeating several phrases such as, may you be happy, or may you be free from suffering, or may you be filled with loving kindness, as we hear in a popular UU hymn. The longer a person cultivates metta meditation as a spiritual practice, the more in-depth it can become, inviting the participant to think beyond themselves to other people, such as loved ones or those that are across traditions and with whom the participant may not agree. Fredrickson also writes that people who participate in certain religious practices, like regularly attending church services, can enjoy benefits similar to those from experiencing positive emotions because they build upon a deeply held belief that there is greater meaning in life. And this perception of greater meaning can help to cultivate positive emotions. And yet, my humanity reminds me that, as much as I would like, it is not realistic to live one's life wearing only rose-colored glasses. Surrounding myself in an echo chamber of positive emotions does not mean that negative emotions no longer cease to exist, or that I will never encounter negative feelings and emotions in the world ever again. I keep returning to the words of H.P. Rivers from the reading today. Sometimes there is no reprieve from the pain of this world. Sometimes it is too big and too obvious to ignore. What of those times? How do we not get completely derailed by the fact that it feels like there is nothing to do to change anything or make it better? As difficult as it is, the answer is that we can only do as much as we can. And it is important that we at least try to do that much. We cannot allow ourselves to get bogged down by the fact that we cannot be the saviors to single handedly solve all the world's problems and single handedly rid the world of the experience of all negative emotions. But doing what we can is doing something, however insignificant it may seem in the moment. I take solace in the words of H.P. Rivers from earlier in the reading. I cannot always change the pain of the world, but I can acknowledge it. I can set a candle on my desk and remind myself that there is suffering dancing in the flame. I can send a photo to a friend, to a group chat, to the mother of a child in the hospital to say, I cannot lessen your pain, but I can sit with you, even from a distance. It is because we care so deeply for people and others in the world that doing what we can, even if it is simply lighting a candle or sending a message to someone saying, I am here with you, I am here for you, is by embodying those words in our actions that we can make a difference, even if we cannot change everything. And I do not know about you, but simply entertaining the idea that I can at least do something to make a difference is just the positive emotion that my soul needed today to keep moving forward. My hope for you today is that you may find the same. May it ever continue to be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. May you be well, my friends.